Hi everybody, it's Rena. I hope you're all doing well. I'm sorry I haven't been on for a couple days, but I don't believe I'm going to be getting too many more visions from Summer. I think she's told me everything she wants to tell me that she showed me. It's not like I'm an opinion channel, or a, you know, um, what do you think channel, because I'm or what Dawn did or Candace did. I deal in visions, and sometimes I use the cards to get my information. So when I stop getting communications, like I have with Summer, she's in my dreams still. Occasionally, she's not there that much anymore, and it's coming close to her time when my visions have shown, or she's shown me, that she's going to be found. So she's told me everything she needs to tell me, and sometimes listening to other people's wild, wild, uh, every other day theories is kind of driving me nuts. So I stay off of those channels, or I've unsubbed. There was one that really upset me the other day. It was about, I won't say who it was, obviously, because she's entitled to her opinion. I don't know where she got the information that uh, I think it might have been even going around that Don's son had invited Don Jr. had invited while Don was away with, I think one of their children. He was in Utah or something. Um, he had invited, he had gone down to, from New York to, what was it called? Tennessee, to Hawkins County, and he brought like 14 people with him, including that Jose guy. I think his name's Jose, that Hispanic guy, and brought a bunch of people to have sex with Summer. And she was 4 at the time. And Candace knew about it. Allie knew about it. Allie and her kids, and the grandmother, and they had just have sex with Summer. I got so mad. I was thinking, damn you. Would you please stop dragging Summer's name through the mud? It would be impossible for this to happen. This tiny little girl, she's small for her age, is going to have sex with 14 adults. She would end up dead and hemorrhaging, dead. She would never be the same again. She would probably be in a trance. Like, I'm like a mama bear with Summer, because she's like mine while she's here. And to keep saying she was trafficked and she was sexually abused and she was tormented, I know it just makes me so angry to drag her name through the mud, saying that she was forced to have sex with all these strange people, and Allie was there, and this one was there, and that one was there, and it's dragging her name through the mud. I mean, the poor child has been through enough in life. Stop dragging her name through the mud in death. That's not how she died. She wasn't trafficked. Is it so hard to believe that there could have been an accident at the house through their carelessness and neglect and horrendous parenting? Why is this so hard to believe? Why do some people have to make up a conspiracy theory every other day to keep your attention? You know why? Because they want likes. They want your likes. So they'll make up this horrendous, outlandish theory just to get your like. It's clickbait. Do people get it? That's why I don't have 11,000 likes, because I don't lie. I say what I see. I say whatever the spirit wants to tell me. And if there's nothing more to say, I have consistently stuck with my story, with Summer's story, what she showed me, what I saw, what the spirit showed me. And sometimes it wasn't Summer, it was another spirit. It wasn't her voice. It wasn't from her. I knew it was from somebody else. Except I've added on, because when I have a vision, sometimes things get added on as time goes on. I remember something else, or I get another feeling about it. So I'm just sick and tired of people dragging her name through the mud. And this damned red truck. There is no red truck. So anyway, it's getting close to her time. And I'm still going to write those letters, but I need the right timing to TBI and to Dave Rader, who is a wonderful person. And they'll be up again when the leaves turn brown. And they'll find her. And if I could go up and I could help with the search, I know where she is. And I would love to go up and help with the search. But I can't go to Tennessee. It's too far. It's 8 hours away. My husband would have to go with me. We had dogs. You know, I know where she is. So I'm going to do my best. I've been trying to do my best. But anyway, so Summer's waiting. Gabby. I've gotten 3 things from Gabby that I figured out. All right, she told me, and I've tried the last few nights, and I've not gotten anything else. And it seems like whatever I see happens. It happens in the future. It starts coming up. And things that I've seen start happening. And I'll say, well, okay, there's another thing, you know. But the thing was, she showed me, she said 2 bodies, 2 dead bodies or 2 bodies. And then she said, and I could kind of see 2 bodies lying in the desert. And then she said, Robinson. Now, I've called Dog twice, and I left a more detailed message the second time. And I said, doesn't it seem odd that Brian left all these text messages as like breadcrumbs? That he was going to be at the Carlton Reserve. They traced them. The FBI traced them. And couldn't that have been like a false lead that he was trying to tell everybody he would be there? But in actuality, he was going to be somewhere else to lead them off. And the parents telling the FBI, which was like, because parents love their kids, even though they're horrible people, as far as I'm concerned, what they did, that they couldn't care less about Gabby or her family. But anyway, they shuffled them in one direction, a swamp. They knew it was humongous, and they'd have to go through weeks and weeks, if not months, of trying to find this POS. Could it not be true that maybe he made those text messages on purpose after he killed her? So it would look like that was where he was going at some point. He was going to go there because that was one of his favorite spots, when in actuality, he was completely somewhere else. Like what she said Robinson. And I had no idea there was a Robinson, Florida. None. And sure enough, it's an hour away from the preserve, the other preserve, and a half hour away from the laundry home. So I'm going with the Robinson Preserve, and I've told Dog this. I haven't talked to him personally. If he wants to talk personally, he can call me, but I will call him again until he's searching. He's doing a new search somewhere else. I have no clue. I just saw it on TV. I have more faith in him than I do the FBI. Then she told me, then I heard the string of 3 sentences, and I knew there were 3 separate conversations. And some of the words were soft, like a female, and some of the words were loud, like a man, a deep voice. And they were 3 separate conversations, but they were together. And then I saw what I thought looked like a Hispanic man, and Brian looks kind of Hispanic. And I checked up. I said, it's not laundry. It's as laundry. I'm kind of my mother was very interested in languages. She was from Europe, Eastern Europe. So she was very smart and very book read. And she passed college courses for my father, who was a teacher. She studied, she read, she loved the European culture, even back to Russia. I mean, East Prussia, where they lived, was right next to Russia. Even though they were German, they were very close to Scandinavia. It was all kinds of culture. She's been fascinated. So anyway, I kind of picked up a lot. I can basically tell you by somebody's name and if I get a look at what they look like, where they came from, where their genealogy is from. So I know by looking at the sister and Brian that they're somewhere from Southern Europe, Southeastern Europe. I can feel the Southern Europe thing. And it's not laundry. It's because that's like an English Scottish name. It's the father. It's not him. It's her. She's got like, and I checked up her maiden name and it's Vinci, like Leonardo da Vinci, but it's just Vinci, and that's like Italianish, like Mediterranean, and that's what he looks like. And that was like the picture I saw next to those sentences. It was a Mediterranean looking man, except his face was kind of blurred out and he had very dark hair. And I knew he was like Mediterranean, and he had a heavy, heavy personality. And I think the three separate sentences were three separate situations, three separate people. And just by coincidence, three people are questioning. We know he killed Gabby. And the two girls, the two women, they're more and more suspecting that he had something to do with that too. So that's three. And they were separate, but they were in the same clump. I think he killed them too. And I think that's what it meant. And that the man was, since I'm was raised by Europeans, I think like that. And I think I'm very interested in languages too, and people's ethnic roots, and a European. My own, I've done my DNA twice. My mother's told us all about it and everything. So I could tell that he looked ethnic. He looked like, I guess kind of Hispanic, but he didn't have a face when I saw it in the vision. So I assumed, so she told me these things, and she hasn't told me anything since. So I kind of put two and two together, and they're kind of bringing it closer and closer. He's still a person of interest, blah blah. But most people think that he did something to the girls, because she was right. Kylie was right there when they had their fight in the parking lot, and he might have thought. I mean, Gabby might have befriended them after he went back to the motel, and he might have gotten mad or jealous or something. But anyway, that's all I have so far on her, and I think that's all I'm probably gonna get, because she came in real quick the first couple times, the first two times, and she hasn't come in again. So that might be all, and I'll have to move on to somebody else, which is either the little boy Michael Vaughn, or there's Daniel Robinson, who was out in the Arizona desert. That was a couple months ago. But anyway, I wanted to tell you about Malaysia flight 370 that disappeared. I was having visions of this a couple of years ago. They disappeared on March 8th, 2014. I don't have relatives. I don't know why. This was in the news. It was big in the news. And it took off, this plane. It was a passenger jet. It had a co-pilot and a pilot, two male, and then the crew. And then I'm not sure how many passengers. It was supposed to go from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It was a short trip, actually, to Beijing, capital airport, China. It was like a 2.5 hour trip or something. It was a straight line. And I have it here on the map. They were supposed to go over the China Sea. And I want to get a program where I can pull up things on this camera, but I don't have it yet. So I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to kind of show it to you. Like, it's the red line. If you can see it, you see the Malaysia Kuala Lumpur Airport, International Airport, and you see the red line. You see the plane, and it's going up towards Beijing, capital airport. Now, what I first saw was a picture of, I saw the pilots in the cockpit, and I knew there was like something wrong. And they were talking about this on the news, and I knew there was something wrong. Like it disappeared out of radar, and it went way off course. And the last transmission they had, it just suddenly turned on its course. It turned to the I guess it would be to the east, towards like Africa. And you can see where it turned. You can see the blue where the plane, it made a flip, and it just went back the way it came, and it kind of flew off the radar, and that was like the last transmission. And it was very strange because they also lost it. It flew into the Indian Ocean where it was not supposed to go. It was completely there was Indonesia. It was supposed to go that way, and it did a flip right here, and it turned around and kind of headed out to the Indian Ocean, which is, it wouldn't even have had enough fuel and they lost transmission. And before they lost transmission, the pilots seemed fine. They said goodnight, to the tower. And they said, we're on our heading. We'll be there in an hour or whatever. And they were almost halfway there. And I saw a picture of Australia. And when I look down on the earth, sometimes I see maps. But the land is green and the water is blue. And it was like I was way up and I was looking down. And I knew this concerned this flight. I saw a picture of Australia, the coast of Australia, on this side of the ocean where the Indonesia is. I don't know. I guess it would be Indian Ocean. This picture's so small. I'm sorry. I try to get a bigger picture. But if you want to check it up, I'll put this. You could just check Malaysia Flight 370. I do have a picture of where they found wreckage. And I saw Perth on the map as a red dot. The city of Perth in Australia, on the coast, near the coast of Australia. And it said Perth. And then I saw another dot, and it was a little bit out to sea. I don't know if it's do any good to draw it, but the Australian coastline, and I saw that the city of Perth, which is a couple hundred miles from the coast. And then I saw another place that was a couple hundred miles out to sea, but to the north of Perth. Like if this would have been Perth, I saw another dot up in the ocean, and this is the ocean. And there was a grid over it, which I often see places. I see just like a netting, like a grid, like you use on a graph map. And I said to Bobby, and they were looking way up here in Thailand. They were looking in the Indian Ocean. They were looking all where they had lost transmission. They were looking in the South China Sea, the Gulf of Thailand, where they had last gotten transmissions. And I said, no. I said, they're looking in the wrong place, Bobby. They're thousands of miles off. They're huge. They're way off. And I said, they're down near Perth. That's where they landed. I said, that's where they crashed the plane. And he said, well, call them and tell them. And I said, like, they're really going to listen to me. This is thousands of miles from where they're searching, because they had, like I said, had lost transmission. And they wouldn't pick up the phones in the plane or the transmissions or anything. They couldn't raise them. And they were really getting worried. And then they checked into the pilot's history. Both pilots, they thought they'd been hijacked, but there was no ransom demands. And they didn't have enough fuel to keep going where they lost them, because they were going into the Indian Ocean and there wasn't enough fuel. And so anyway, everybody was very confused. And I felt the words suicide pact were said in my mind. And I I thought about it for a little while, and it kept like it was stewing in my mind, and I knew it was one of the pilots was in on it. And the more time that they found that a wreckage a year later, but the more time it sunk in the vision of the pilots. They showed the pilots. They said they had no problems. They didn't leave a note, nothing like that. I felt it was the older pilot, the head pilot, and it was somebody else on the plane. And to make a longer story short, I felt in the end that the pilot had killed the co-pilot because he had nothing to do with it and he needed to get him out of the way. It was a suicide pact and he wanted to take the plane down with him. And he wanted the plane to land in one piece so it wouldn't be found, like it wouldn't be broken up. I just felt that and I knew that's where it was. And at one point, later on, they started finding wreckage on the other side of the Indian Ocean. I believe it's Africa or India, whatever the other coastline is. I'm sorry if I seem ignorant, but I'm not really familiar with that side of the world. It's either Africa or India or both parts. I guess it would be Africa. They started finding wreckage, and they determined. I knew they wanted the plane to land in one piece too. And they didn't say that they'd say that yet, but I had this vision that I was in the plane with these people and we were in the front cabin and it was so real and I could see the seats and there weren't that many of us in there. And the cabin door, the pilots were dead. I knew that. And we were looking at the cabin. It was kind of barricaded. Like we didn't want them to get out. Like we had barricaded the door. And there were just regular passengers. And I saw the window of the airplane and I could see the blue water, like on a diagonal. Like the plane was intact, our cabin. It wasn't broken up. But the water was so blue and I could see the light on the other half of the diagonal. And people were scrambling around the cabin, but like I said, there weren't that many of us. And something was happening at the door. Like we had barricaded to keep the pilot from getting out. The one with the gun. And I knew it was a suicide pact. And one of the passengers was involved and the pilot. And all of a sudden we were suddenly thrown to the front of the plane. The plane was going down nose first into the water, the blue water. And we were thrown to the front of the plane and nobody was really hurt. We were just being tossed around and I knew I was going to die and with these people. And we got to the front of the plane and we were all kind of like, there were about maybe 15 of us. And we were at the door, the pilot's door. And all of a sudden I saw this like vortex and it was like a circular vortex and it kept moving and moving, but it had like, instead of like a circular thing, it had something like this. Like the parts that were moving were like this, like straight, and they kept just moving and moving. And it was still circular, but they had different shapes than like a regular round vortex. And it was just moving and moving and moving around. And I saw inside of it and there were prisms of light. They were like straight up and down, and then some will go this way, and there was shining bright white and yellow lights, and there were some blues in the background and some gold and pinks and greens. And I looked in there with utter amazement, and I felt such peace. And I knew I was dying. I was going to die. And I was already like halfway there. I wasn't dead yet. And I could feel I could feel the draw of this place. And all I wanted to do was go there because I felt such love and acceptance and home. It was like home. I just wanted to shed my old life, my old body, everything I ever knew. I wanted to shed this life and I wanted to just dive into that vortex because I knew I was going home. And the feeling of peace and acceptance and love and light was overwhelming. And it was like when people die, I think when they're on the verge of death, they're already halfway there. They're already seeing this. And I didn't see any relatives. I remember I was on a flight that I was just there in spirit, and this was, you know, years ago, like 2014. And this vision I think I saw in about maybe 2019. 2000, yeah, it was about 2019. And I just remember the prisms of light, the beautiful lines, and they would change shapes and they would go across. And it was just inviting us to come in. It was time to come home. And the feeling of just wanting to just leave it all behind and just go into that light because that we were home. And like I said, I was already there before I was even gone. I just wanted to go into there. And that was my vision. And I knew that was home. That was heaven. That was where we, that's how people feel before they die. Good people, you know, that they're home. And you want to go because I knew I was dying and I was with these people who were also dying. And it was like a new adventure, like a new place, a new beginning. It wasn't the end, it was a beginning. And I just came out of that and I was like, oh my God, that was beautiful. That was so beautiful. And I've had experiences like that before with being close to heaven or being, that was the closest I think I've ever gone to actually seeing heaven. And and then we heard on the news that they had found pieces of the plane across the ocean, and they had determined that where I said the plane went down was around the area or near Perth, where the plane had gone down, and it had gone down. They could tell by the pieces that the plane had most likely gone down in one piece, just like I saw it in the cabin, because the cabin was still intact and it went down. I could see the water diagonal in the window. It had gone down in one piece. And they said also that it had been most likely a suicide pact. And they didn't say why, but that was the first message I got. So they never did find out why. Um, but I was on that plane and I saw, and I feel very badly for the people who died on the plane, but I was there. And so anyway, that was an experience of going into into heaven and dying, and that you're already there when you're dying, and you already see what's waiting, and you want to go. You want to go because there's peace on the other side, and you're leaving everything behind, and you don't even care. So anyway, that was my experience with that. Um, and I wanted to tell you something else. That was quite, you know. Um, to tell you something else. I want to tell you. I have so many visions. I mean, so many. Um, one time, I'll tell you, I did see I have been close to heaven at a very bad time in my life. Um, I was contemplating. I was in my early 20s. I was totally lost. I had, you know, I went out to bars with the girlfriends and the VC bands, and I had kind of given up on being a singer because it was sleazy business, and the managers were horrible. The agencies were horrible. They were the best agencies, but they were just awful to the women, and they mostly wanted to date you, the managers, and they were sleeping around with a lot of the girls, and I didn't really have anything to do with that, and I wasn't like that, so I kind of gave up, and I was very, and I was drinking too much, and I just was lost. And I said, God, I said, I'm not going to drink another drop. If you have anything to show me for a purpose for me. And a couple of weeks later, I did something I shouldn't have done. I took, a chance. And 2 weeks before I did this, I went into an astral projection, and this was something that was very vivid to me, and was my first experience with seeing heaven or being very close to it. And I'm sharing with you. This is very personal, and I came I went into from my sleep into a vision, and when I go into a vision, it takes energy. You have to pull your way in, just like that vortex. You have to kind of pull your way in, like you're swimming. And I got out of my car in this vision, and I stepped into what was snow. But I could see in a vision everything is crystal, crystal clear. And I could see every little crystal, every little icicle in the snow. And it was this beautiful, like little somebody's property, and there was crystals in the snow, and I could see this blue light illuminating in the background, and there were trees and some little houses that way, but to the other side there were two cottages, and I felt the most beautiful sense of peace and love here, and the lights, they were like almost like the aurora borealis lights, like the lights. I could see the blue light coming from the behind the trees, but there was really no light source. It was just all over, just the sky. It was the evening, and but it was still plenty of light out. And I saw the two cottages, and they had lights in them. One was here, and then one was behind it, and they both had lights, and they looked so inviting. And I thought, that's home. I want to go there. I want to go there so bad. And I started. There's a little path leading up, a little cobble, like stones, and I could see the crystals so clear in the snow. It was like the mind's eye can see so much more clearly than um, you can see with your eyes. Normally, even if you had 20/20 vision, you can see the crystals. You can see a, a blade of grass from 20 feet. I mean, I saw this cottage, and it was home. I knew it was home, and if I got there, I'd be home. I would be rid of this life. I would be gone. And I hadn't done anything yet, but I was very, very depressed. And I ran for the cottage, and I almost made it. And there's a cottage behind it with lights on, like a little further down. And my mother woke me up for work. And I cried like my heart was breaking. And I told her, and she said, I'm so sorry. She said, but I don't know what to say. She knew, she understood, because we all astro projected, and I knew I had been to a place that was very, very close to heaven, and I knew that God loved me like a child. I was his child, and he would help me. And even if, and this is something I never believed, and please don't, this is my opinion. I knew if I would have done something in the future, he would have forgiven me, which is something I never believed before. I always thought oh damn, if you do something like that, um, you're doomed. You're gonna go, straight down. But I felt such forgiveness and such love and peace from God. God was so close to me, and I knew He loved me and He would help me. And whatever I did, He would forgive me. And that second cottage was my real home. That's where I'll go when I'm really ready to go. And it won't be like that. It'll be because I died of whatever. And well, I cried like a baby, like my heart was breaking because I had almost made it home, and my mother understood because she experienced, these kind of things too. And I did try something, and I got to a better place. I got help, and things got better for me. And so um, I was there. I was very close to heaven. And I knew God would forgive me, and God was looking out for me, and I had a purpose. And so, which doesn't encourage anybody to do anything, but there is help out there if you need it, especially now. At the time, there wasn't really, you didn't talk about depression or problems with drinking. I never took drugs or anything like that. I'm on prescription antidepressant and sleep medication and bipolar medicine. That whatever. And since I cut down my bipolar, I'm more alert now. So, and I do intend to like I said, set up my page, and I'm working on getting the Patreon, not the Patreon, the PayPal done. I'm sorry if it's taking long because I'm not a tech. But anyway, so I just wanted to assure you there is a heaven, and God does forgive us if we're truly suffering um, for things that we've done that are not that bad, that we're only hurting ourselves. And of course, I was hurting my family too, my mother, my sister, but I was mostly hurting myself. So God helped me get onto a better path, and I went on to have children and a life. So I just wanted to tell you that, and I hope that comforts you. And and about the coincidences about my visions, they're not coincidences. Things do happen that I have visions of. I have to wait sometimes, and the thing where the plane did land where I said it landed, and it was thousands of miles where they started searching away. It was nowhere near Perth. It was, I think they said it was 110 miles, 1,100 miles away from where they originally started searching. And I told Bobby, I said, no, 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 they're searching the wrong place. They need to search down here near Perth. And sure enough, that's where they said it landed. And I will put a link to the rescue where they picked up the plane, pieces of the plane, and they said it did not fall apart on the pilot made sure it did fall apart so it wouldn't be all over the ocean because he didn't want the plane to be found. And that was and the suicide thing, how would I know that? They didn't announce it till they much later that it was a suicide pact. I didn't know that. I didn't even know who the pilots were. I don't even know their names. Um, so I got that information. So anyway, I'm very sorry. I hope these people rest in peace. And I know that when that plane landed, that's what they saw. When that plane landed in the water and was going down, that's what they saw. They saw heaven, and they wanted to go to heaven. They wanted to have peace, and they entered that portal, and they are now with God. And I believe they're all good people, except the pilot and his co-conspirator. So that's all I have to say for now, and I am working on some new cases because little Summer's waiting, and I don't know if I'm going to get anything else out of Gabby. I'll try again, but she told me some important things that Brian did it, um, and the other two women, he did that too. The three separate sentences, the female voices, then is a hard male voice, and the dark male, which I knew was like Hispanic or dark, a country in Southern Europe. And and then when I checked up her maiden name being Vinci, that's Italian. Um, that could be it, and there was no face on the picture. It was just dark, and I knew it was dark. When I looked at the sister, I said, "Oh yeah, they're from the man who did this is dark. He's from he has his heritage in Southern Europe, and he killed those women too." So I just gave to Dog my information about Gabby, about where Brian is, and I believe what she told me. And I believe he threw like breadcrumbs in the wrong direction. So anyway, I'll talk to you soon. I hope you all take care, and I'm getting that page ready so I can do readings online, and you would get a regular reading, a numerology, and we could talk about it some more. And you know, throw a dream interpretation in there too, because I do it. I've been doing it my whole life. And if you have visions or whatever, we can talk about it. And I'm gonna add other stuff too. It's just, life happens, and I can't devote totally all my time to it, but it's what I love to do, and I'm good at it. And pray for a little summer. We pray for all the missing children. Um, we pray for everybody. We pray that the spirits find peace, um, and that those that are missing are found. And every time a child is found that's been missing, or somebody, I go into, like, I start crying, happy tears. Like, oh my God, somebody's been found. That like the two little boys that were found recently that were missing, and that makes it makes up for some of the sadness. So, everybody take care. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.